ETs tell her she was an Anunnaki advisor to the king of Atlantis 13,000 years ago. Did you know that at one time on planet Earth, during the height of the Golden Age, that human beings and higher dimensional extraterrestrials walked on planet Earth together as friends and colleagues? So I want to share some information with you that I've had. I've had some vague memories about our connection in past lives. What happened, as you know, I'm a contactee of higher dimensional extraterrestrials because I felt them. They were telling me that I had a connection with you and that it was very important that I interact and work with you. And I didn't understand why. And they said, we'll show you some more of what happened. And they said, you're not going to like it. And I said, okay. They revealed to me 13,000 years ago, when we were in the last Satya Yuga or Golden Age, that I was a very powerful king of Atlantis, Pleiadians. They said they were my counselors, my advisors. The peak of the Golden Age, and we were going to begin descending into eventually what people know as Kali Yuga. And the beings said that I did not listen to them when they told me that I needed to power down the technologies. The ETs had to pull away from me. They had to pull their connection and their power, their protection away from me. When the light beings, when they decided to leave, you came to me. You were somebody that worked with me. You were asking me to leave, to shift up. And in my state at that time, I took this as a horrific betrayal. And I became furious. How could you have done this to me? I can't believe you did this to me, because we had been so close. And that you honestly thought that you would have been able to come and explain to me and that I would have listened to you, and I didn't. So I wanted to do this reading with you because I really wanted to explore that. And I wanted to apologize to you. I owe you an apology for that. Whatever I did, you didn't deserve that. And what about the new Earth 5D shift? What is that going to look like?
My feelings around, all of this awakening that we're going through is that we get to, the Garden of Eden is here. We get to be in paradise here. It's just when we shift our dimensional awareness, we see everything. I see reality a lot like a kaleidoscope that just has all of the pieces already in it. We just keep shifting it and it makes a new picture. So when we shift our vibrational state, the kaleidoscope shifts and we see new pictures formed from all the same pieces.
What I am learning by doing these channeled ET readings is that human beings are the most powerful spiritual deities in the entire multiverse. In fact, only the most powerful of deities are allowed to come here and incarnate. So what I do in these ET channeled readings is I channel the information that comes from higher dimensional extraterrestrial beings, and the result is that the person that I'm talking to goes through what I refer to as 5D reintegration, where they reintegrate into their higher dimensional identity. And every one of them is unique and every one of them is powerful. And so far, all of these readings I've done have been unbelievable. I hope you'll stay tuned for this entire ET reading that I did with fellow starseed from the Andromedan galaxy, Alice and Holly. We get into some, as you saw, some pretty intense stuff that was very emotionally impactful for me. And she always has a good counterpoint to some of my observations and experiences, especially when it comes to how we can focus on the positive and how we can create 5D just by shifting our frequency and what that really means. Please stay tuned. I think you'll enjoy it. All right, so I am here with Andromedan Ambassador Allison Hawley. We've
Hello.
we've done a couple of videos together. She's a very powerful channel herself and a light being in human form. And if I remember correctly, you can correct me if I'm wrong. According to your understanding, this is your first time here as a human, and you have memories of being involved with creating human ET cooperated technology, pyramid,
Yes,
things like
I
that.
have a connection with being working with the Anunnaki.
All right. Okay, so uh, I can feel the light beings have showed up. I can feel their energy. So I want to share some information with you that I've had. I've had some vague memories about our connection in past lives. So hopefully the light beings will reveal more. And it was very challenging information. So
Mm.
um, I'm sure a lot of people watching know what I've shared, but I'll very briefly share what happened. As you know, I'm a contactee of higher dimensional extraterrestrials. I did CE5 in June of 2022 and have had basically daily communications and visitations from them astrally, physically, all kinds of things. And they revealed to me, the short story is that 13,000 years ago, when we were in the last Satya Yuga or Golden Age, that I was a very powerful king of Atlantis and that I worked with extraterrestrials, and namely the beings that shared this with me were Pleiadians. They said they were my counselors, my advisors, and that they had helped me and us on Earth create all kinds of technologies based on raising the frequency of the Earth so that we could even experience the Golden Age even more, including the pyramids and many other megalithic structures, which were about connecting to the power of the Earth and all kinds of stuff that I'm not sure I even remember. In any case, they were saying that they worked with me and advised with me on that, and that we had hit the peak of the golden age and we were going to begin descending into eventually what people know as Kali Yuga, which we've come out of just recently, where we're the furthest away from the spirit. And the beings said that I did not listen to them
Mm.
when they told me that I needed to power down the technologies and I needed to focus on teaching people spiritual practices that then they could take into Kali Yuga. And because I didn't do that, that caused a war among uh, other elites who had begun losing their connection, and they sought to use the technology to enslave the world in all kinds of ways. And I resisted that. There was a huge world war that was very destructive and horrible. And as a result of that, and here's where you're going to
Mhm.
come in, the result of that was that the ETs had to pull away from me. They had to pull their connection and their power, their protection away from me. And that set me up to be assassinated, which then the elites took over. They tried to take over the technology, and the higher dimensional, much higher dimensional beings said, we have to put a stop to this. If these people are able to follow through with this, they'll destroy the earth. So that created the cataclysm, which we know of all over the world as the Great Flood, completely wiped out the civilization, and we basically had to start all over again from the Stone Age. So, in case anybody's interested, believe me or not, that's what I was told. I had never seen or experienced any of this in my life up until this point. I didn't even believe in any of this at all.
Mm.
We met. I tracked you down. I had heard you on a podcast or something, and you were talking about being an Andromedan. I was told that I was an Andromedan, and I tracked you down, and we did a couple of videos, and that was interesting. I felt huge amounts of energy. Like the connection to the light beings was off the charts when I would communicate with you, and I wasn't sure what that was about. And I've since had some more revelations about that. And so
Mm.
I would like to ask your permission. May I share that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So it was challenging for me to see and experience. If it is for you, my apologies, but
Mhm.
I've come to find out it's important for me to remember this because if I don't, I may not be able to do my current job as well. So I don't know. And let's see. Let me check in with them first because they're here. Let me see what they want to say. So they're saying they're talking about you and they're saying she wants to know why this is such a big deal for you. What else? They say you're going to ask me some questions which will be helpful. Okay, so we'll get to that later. I was very curious, and light beings came to me one day, and I was very curious about why, because I felt them, they were telling me the whole time
Mm.
that I had a connection with you, and that it was very important that I interact and work with you. And I didn't understand why. And they said, we'll show you some more of what happened. And they said, you're not going to like it.
Mm.
And I said, okay. So you heard me give that explanation. So at the way that can best put it together, and they can correct me as I'm going, is that when the light beings, we're talking about Andromedans, Pleiadians, Arcturians, they were all there working with us and with me. When they decided to leave, uh, I became very upset, obviously. And, my physical body, my energy started shifting in a very uncomfortable way. You came to me. Now, I don't know whether you were human or Andromedan. I wasn't seeing that, but you were somebody that worked with me, either as an advisor or as a supporter or I don't know exactly what your role was, but we had a very close connection. In fact, the connection felt like we were extremely close,
Mhm.
like beyond all of, the other stuff that was going on, close friends. And you came to me, and a lot of feelings coming up here.
Mm.
Either were, it, you were telling me what was happening, like you're going to lose your power. They're going to take their power away from you. I think you were trying to, at the last ditch effort, trying to talk me out of, listen, there's no way out. This thing's going south. There's nothing you can do to stop it. And I think you were even, okay, so they're confirming this. You were asking me to leave, to shift up. Because what
Mm.
had also happened is at this time, when the world started coming down, there were beings on the planet, humans, Lemurians, and others who had been using the technology, meditating, and they had been shifting their frequency up. So they were actually able to shift out of this third dimensional frequency, and they're there now. And I've communicated with them again. I didn't believe in Lemurians. I thought, well, I'll go check them out. Meditated. They showed up, and they're like, "It's you." They're like my cousins, my cousins, my sisters and brothers. They were family members, and they were like, "We've been waiting for you. Are you
Mm.
awake?" Are
Mm,
you back? And that was huge for me. And they said that we shifted up and you could have come with us. You
mm,
were supposed to come with us and you didn't. And we were very sad that you didn't come with us. And so I think that you came to last ditch effort to try and talk me into shifting up.
mm,
And because I don't know if you saw this, but I found some historical information about, or supposed historical information going back, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, 1,000 years or something, of the king who built the pyramids.
mm,
And they said he built the pyramids because one day he had a horrible vision of this darkness coming over the earth and that human beings getting smashed underneath like mountains and darkness, and it was so traumatizing to him. He went to his priests and they did a bunch of rituals and astrology, and they came back and they said it's true, there's going to be a flood and it's going, and and so they said he built the pyramids to protect the knowledge because he didn't want the knowledge to get lost.
mm,
So up until that, I was thinking, why in the world would somebody be so stupid as to say to Pleiadians, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to keep,
mm,
who would do that? But if this whole thing had been orchestrated up in the higher dimensions, long before, then I would have built that in. So I would have not been able to, like the attachment to keeping humans safe would have been so strong. I wouldn't have been able to stop myself.
mm,
And so you came and you tried to explain all this to me and you tried to help me to shift up. And in my state at that time, I took this as a horrific betrayal
mm,
and I became furious.
mhm,
And I'm not proud of this, but they showed me like I was watching a movie and they showed me like shaking you by the shoulders, just in
mhm,
rage. I can't, how could you have done this to me? I can't believe you did this to me.
mm,
And what I what I saw was that you were deeply emotionally wounded, like it really wounded you on
mm,
on a very deep level because we had been so close, and that you honestly thought that you would have been able to come and explain to me and that I would have listened to you, and I didn't. And then, of course, right after that, I was assassinated and I spiraled down, and you know that story. And so I wanted to do this reading with you because I really wanted to explore that. And I wanted to apologize to you.
mm,
I owe you an apology for that. Whatever I did, you didn't deserve that. I was lost in my attachment and my delusion to whatever, I thought I was saving the world. I thought I was saving the human race. Um, but I really felt that it was an unpleasant experience for me. Um, I'm okay now, but anyway, I wanted to share that with you. And anyway, okay, so now I got that off my chest. So where I'd like to go with this reading,
Well, pause for a moment.
yeah, go ahead.
Because knowing how things work in multiple dimensions, the way that I feel is no forgiveness is ever needed because all is now. And so there's no wounding. And even me as a human right now, I don't, I don't feel any wounding. And what I've learned is that multidimensionally, we do ask for forgiveness. And so I want to give you that forgiveness for any wrongdoings that's freely given from me to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It cleans up some sort of thread that, being human's got so many threads that, attachments and karma and all of those things. And I've been learning a lot about forgiveness. And while, the larger part of me knows that we're all eternal and so no forgiveness is ever needed, I have come to recently recognize, like, yes, I freely give you forgiveness. That is some part of the earth game that is important.
Yeah.
So I want to like acknowledge that. Also, really interesting timing, because just a couple days ago I did a reading for someone. I never look at Atlantis for myself. I personally have not come into any awareness of a connection with that. But I did a reading for someone who wanted to know about their lifetime in Atlantis because they felt this connection. And the things that I saw are really interesting, kind of mirroring, because I don't do any research, mirroring some of the things that you say. So I find the timing very succinct. And also, this weekend is when I'm going into a deep dive weekend intensive medicine ceremony. And, my intention with that is to understand specific teachings that I feel I'm here to bring around the Garden of Eden. So I feel the timing of all of this and everything you just said is really woven together.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, so I'm what my hope is now that I've gotten that off my chest, is that I'm hoping that the light beings will use this opportunity to tell us more
Hmm.
about all of this and reveal more. So I'd like to, with your permission, I'd like to ask them if they have anything more that they'd like to share.
Yeah, let's do it.
You're going to experience some very powerful energies, and that you know it's coming, but you may not understand why. It's going to have something to do with unwinding deep caverns of awareness within you that you haven't awakened to yet. But when it happens, it's going to be very meaningful to you. What I'm seeing is I'm seeing you. I don't know how to describe it. It's all of a sudden like the flip, the light switch goes on, and then there's just going to be this like floodlight that comes out. You've been holding back, not you personally, but your spirit has been holding back because the world hasn't been ready yet for what you're going to share. And it's going to be monumental. And now I'm seeing you're growing to an immense size. Very like a very, very powerful, like your presence is going to have much larger impact on the earth. We want you both to understand why you were brought here, and there are no accidents. Now they're telling me that I'm going to have to let you in. I don't know what that means. She doesn't understand yet either. But if you focus your energies, you'll be able to awaken great powers from within the earth that will explode onto the earth. So, does that make any sense to you? Does that mean anything to you?
Um, yeah, we can, keep going and keep diving in. It feels similar to, even some of our interactions in this life, what you said, your previous our previous experience together, with me being here to teach people how to play, which is ascension, when we really allow ourselves to play. And that was also something that we encountered in this lifetime together, is we kind of being like, hey, this is for joy, this is for play.
Yeah.
That's hard for people to do.
Yeah, it's a challenging Earth experience. I think one of the times we talked, you put it very well. You said, this is your first time here, and I've been here from the beginning, which is true. I've been here from the beginning. I was among the first to come and experiment and create this whole Earth thing. And yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot. And yeah, Earth can get very, very dense.
Hmm.
And yeah, the longer that people are here, it's sort of like, you go in and you're doing powerlifting, you just get big and bulky, you know?
Yes.
And so you don't have a lot of flexibility. You got a lot of strength, you got a lot of power, but you don't have a
Mhm.
lot of flexibility. So it can be like that. And the dualism of Earth is very challenging to live outside of that dualism. And like you said, play is that space. The imagination is that space where we're outside of that. All right, so I want to ask them specifically. Oh, they're excited for me to ask this. By the way, I want everybody to know my experience with the beings I work with. It's not like I'm possessed by some spirit and it's like, thus saith the Lord, and I don't have, it's not like that at all. It's exactly like you're sitting across from somebody and they're like, yeah, what do you want to know? Oh, wait, let me interrupt. I want to tell you this. And sometimes they're telling me stuff and I'm like, hang on, you gotta, not all at once. So the point is they really respect our boundaries,
Mhm.
and to me, they don't force information on me. They sometimes, drop bombs on me that are kind of, can be shocking just because of the information. But anyway, so they're very excited about this, and I want to ask them to tell us more about what was going on in Atlantis. I want to know more about that. So what do you guys have to say? We had so much fun together. They're saying that we all had fun, that they had fun. We miss those times. And you two were so cute. The way that you played together. And Michael specifically, when you became wounded. And they're specifically talking about when I was wrapped up in trying to save Earth, that was wounding to me. When you became wounded, she lost her connection to you. You got wrapped up in your own world. That was the most painful to her. So you're wrong that you think that your anger hurt her. It did. What hurt her the most was when she lost you to that pain, because she cared about it, as we all did.
Mhm.
We all lost our best friend. It was really, really painful. Um, but you're doing so well and you're healing so fast. So we're not worried about that. Why aren't you telling her about what we just told you? So a couple of days ago, for 2 or 3 days, I haven't said anybody this because I don't know how to interpret it. But they came to me a couple of days ago and they started talking about, we're going to take you home.
Hmm.
We're coming for you. We're going to take you home. So I don't know what that means. They've said things like that in the past. They've said things like people are going to think you died.
Hmm.
And I thought I was going to go, in fact, one day I planned to leave and I said goodbye to everybody. And then the day came and went and nothing happened. So I said, okay, I don't know what that means. But for some reason, that was important for you to know. So why am I telling her that? Why do you want her to know that? She doesn't know what's coming yet. You have to tell her. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? It means she knows some things that go beyond her current understanding that have to be awakened in order for the big celebration to happen. Earth is ready. It's going to be a huge explosion of energy. And then I don't know. Either I'm blocking or it's getting muddled. So I want to check in with you. What do you think
Hmm.
about what you just heard?
I mean, what I've learned is home is right here, different dimensional space right here, though.
Yeah.
Hmm. And everything is instant the moment that we shift our energy into it. So we're not really going anywhere from my perspective. We're more shifting the internal state that opens up um, then that layer of reality for us, that layer of energetic, like dimensional space for us.
Yeah. Those are very good observations. I would agree with that.
So taking you home sounds really good, you know, because maybe you missed the energetic boat last time from what you were saying. But it's really just a dimensional shift, the moment that you allowed yourself to start channeling again, the Lemurians, they're right here. We've been waiting for you, or we've been here. Where have you been? It's just a dimensional shift. My feelings around, all of this awakening that we're going through is that um we get to, the Garden of Eden is here. We get to be in paradise here. It's just when we shift our dimensional awareness, we see everything. I see reality a lot like a kaleidoscope that just has all of the pieces already in it. We just keep shifting it and it makes a new picture. So when we shift our vibrational state, the kaleidoscope shifts and we see new pictures formed from all the same pieces. And, coming home, of course, like I think to different degrees, a lot of us have going through different awakening processes. Um, to the people that used to know us as we were, we did die to them, you know? And with this big explosion of light, um, yeah, it's all already in existence. And the explosion of light to me feels like uh we're all getting it. We're all getting it. And it just, I mean, the level of light that we can allow into ourselves. And then when we do that on a mass consciousness scale, it's like it's pretty massive, like the level of light that will be beaming within the planet from all humans. So I don't know how that's fitting into what you're receiving, but that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I I appreciate that. I tend to take things very literally. That's how my
I think
brain,
that's a masculine thing.
yeah, and that's how my brain works.
Yeah.
And I know I've been, I've experienced beings that can do that. They pop into this dimension, like physically, and then they can pop out and like, where the heck are they? But they're
Yes.
still here. You just can't see them.
Right.
So I start thinking like that, or like there's a ship's going to land and I'm going to get in the ship and we're going to fly. That's where my head goes. And all those things are possible. You know,
Exactly.
that's the thing. Any of that could be true. But it felt very intense, and they've never talked to me like that
Mm.
with as much power. And they kept on repeating it. So then when they repeat something to me over multiple days, it means they're doing it because they know that my brain's resisting it.
Yeah.
Something about it that I'm resisting. So they repeat it so that I know I'm not, fantasizing.
Hmm.
But what it means is not clear to me. But what you say makes a lot of sense, and I know that that's the path. I've always known that the path is to change my internal dynamic, and then the external follows. So I appreciate that. Okay, so what are you saying? We want you guys to understand more about where we are going and where we are taking you. So now I'm getting this picture of like Earth is here, and there's like some giant ship with like tractor beams, and they're
Mm.
moving forward and they're pulling the Earth forward through space. And I'm taking that to mean dimensional space. And so what I've been saying there has been true that I've been saying recently. This is about us. It's not about anybody else. Nothing's going to happen to us. We're going to do it. And they're adding to that saying, and we are also going to be a part of this. And we've been waiting until now.
Mm.
So we're letting you know everything's going to change. Everything's going to change. I'm very excited about that. They're singing and clapping and dancing about that. It's very hard for me to talk about myself. It's easy for me to talk about others. It's hard for me to talk about myself, but they're telling me about myself.
Mm.
And they're saying, we can't do this without you. And there's like a chair, an empty chair, like a captain's chair. We need you back in the captain's chair.
Mm.
This was all your idea, and we want to help. Okay, so that's very embarrassing for me.
Mm.
Now, this isn't how I planned this to go. My plan was to share for you, give you a reading for yourself. This isn't how I intended this to go. Okay, so they're giving me some space now, just for the moment. So it's you have the floor.
Mm. I love the part where they shared with you that this is exactly what you planned. And I'm curious why that felt embarrassing for you. Was it just because you were talking about yourself or
Yeah, it's that, but it's also, it sounds so grandiose. Now, again, I have no problem when I'm sharing with people, you're a goddess and you did, or you're the supreme this or the I have no problem at all going there with other people, because what I've learned is that every human, if you've incarnated here, it's because you're massively huge out there. Like,
That's one of the main things that, when I've heard you on different videos on your channel or when we've spoken, it's one of the main things that really resonates with me that you share is like humans don't, whatever soul has incarnated on the earth, like we don't get here just because we're like, you know, let me just try it out. It's like it's just, it's such a hard, uh, and I don't even want to say hard. It is a masterful playing field that you really kind of have to be calibrated to a certain place in order to be here, just because it gets like, because I don't know, it's almost like somebody who's going to be in a jet, and they're like, okay, you have to, or going into outer space, you have to calibrate your body, or like doing deep sea diving, you have to go into some form of training. You have to be at a certain level of health to do it. It's that simple, you know? So the level of density that we're experiencing, like we have to have some capacity to handle that, you know?
yeah, yeah, and like, people want to know, why are there, children that die in infancy or stillborns, and it's because the souls go, I think I want to do that earth thing,
Totally.
and then they get into the womb and they go, and then the frequency just starts coming way down. They go, no, 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 I'm clocking out, I'm not doing this. Or I
Mhm.
just wanted one day, they're
I
born
just
alive
wanted
for
to
one day.
experience it.
And they say, okay, that's it, I'm done, that's all I wanted. And they go back and what was it like? Oh my God, it was so hard. I couldn't even
Yeah.
get past the first 12 hours.
Yep.
Yeah, and there are light beings who, if they want to come here, their advisors are going, you don't want to go there right now.
Yeah.
This is not,
Not right now.
you're not ready for this.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody here is among the most powerful. So it's easy for me to say that to others, but to talk about myself like that is not easy.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, they talk to me like I am, that I'm one of the beings that created this whole thing, and that I am going to be, or am not going to be, I am instrumental in the whole thing shifting up. If I wasn't doing the meditations that I'm leading, and if I wasn't doing that, we'd be in a different situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's hard for my human ego to expand into. To answer your question, that's why it's hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think also because of the memory that I want to change. It's a memory, I think, that I chose to allow myself to shift down here for 13,000 years, is the belief that I screwed up,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I didn't. Now, when I read that information about King Surid, and that he built the pyramids because he had multiple horrific visions of what turns out to be human consciousness going down. Um, that doesn't happen by chance. It's orchestrated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't have. I would have listened to whoever talked to me. I said, okay, all right, we'll turn off the pyramids now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that negative feeling of, I screwed up, I sinned, or whatever, I think I can let go of that, because it's not serving anymore. So now it's time to get back to work, and continue and finish the project that I started.
Mm. Do you feel like you can forgive yourself for that?
I can. Uh, when they first told me, again, it was very hard. Like the first, and the same, they, and they warned me. They go, "This is going to be hard for you to hear." They've said that probably 3 or 4 times when they've dumped things on me. And when they first told me, um, and gave me the memory, and the emotional memory came back. Um, I forgot what I was saying, but the thing that bothered me afterwards was when they told me you engaged in a war, a lot of people died, major like technology and weapons, and that was very, very, very hard for me to hear,
Hmm.
that I had engaged in a war and that perhaps people had died as a result of my actions. And so I was worried that I had become, the kinds of people that exist now that are, dropping blue rain on us. I don't know if you've heard about that, but it's just crazy stuff that's going on. And I wanted to know that I wasn't one of those people. Because
Hmm.
if I thought that I was, I don't know that I'd be able to tolerate that thought.
Hmm.
But there's nothing in me that lights up that says that's where my mind was at. So I can forgive myself for making a mistake based on a delusion that I was saving the world.
Hmm.
I can forgive myself for that. To answer your question, and I don't know, there's got to be some more work I need to do on that, but I had to allow myself to get attached here. And so when they said to me the other day, when they said, we're going to be taking you home,
Hmm.
I felt a resistance of letting go of Earth,
Hmm.
even though there's nothing left for me down here. There's nothing. I mean, I don't have family, kids, and I can't, I can't do, sports like I used to, which was surfing. That was it. And I can't do that like I used to because I'm just getting too old. Um, so there's nothing keeping me here. Anyway, I could go on, but I think I answered that question. I thought I was interviewing you.
It's all perfect.
Well, that's why I wanted to do this, and again, thank you for doing it because they had made it very clear I had to clear up something with you. I had some things I had to clear up, so
Well, then I'll share this next part
yeah.
too. I have found that deep forgiveness is gratitude
Hmm.
and it's unilateral. So when I truly forgive one person, then there's nothing in the earth, like experience of all eternity, that I can't forgive. Like that's the deepest level of forgiveness. And for a lot of people, it really is forgiving themselves. Now, I'm also aware that there are certain like earth games, like, karma. I'm not here for that. That doesn't apply to me. It like all clears up in my one lifetime. And I was aware that karma is a game that people feel like has power over them, but it actually is something that they've created, we all create it. It's part of the earth experience and the density. But all of that being said, there are things that happen on this earth that I don't fully understand, like what I shared with you about forgiveness. I recently had this really powerful teaching of forgiveness come through from my uh, patriarchal lineage. And, my deceased grandfather came to me and asked for forgiveness. And I was like, well, of course, like I would never not forgive you. But there are a lot of attachments around forgiveness. Um, belief systems, and I know you're already aware of this, but like I feel like maybe this is important. Belief systems that somehow by holding on, by attaching to not forgiving ourselves or not forgiving others, that somehow we're doing the right thing and we're keeping bad things from happening again and again. But then releasing our attachment and fully forgiving, it actually drops that whole storyline for everyone. It creates that quantum effect of shifting it. And then we don't actually, it's by not forgiving that we recreate it. And by forgiving that we fully release the baggage and we can kind of go into those higher frequencies. And I feel like forgiveness, for whatever reason, is a big theme of our conversation. So maybe there's some like, I mean, I imagine being here since the beginning, there's a lot that feels difficult to forgive because it's been perpetuated again and again. But, the forgiveness is like how we drop the anchor, or, release the anchors, not drop the anchors, but detach from what's holding us in that density. Um, and even deeper, the belief that anything could ever go wrong is part of the illusion.
Yeah,
You know, everything is perfect from that higher frequency space.
yeah,
So there's nothing to forgive, but we do have to go through the actions of forgiveness in order to be in the place vibrationally where we know there's nothing to forgive ever.
yeah. The picture I'm getting is that, a rocket ship's trying to blast off of Earth,
Yeah.
but can't as long as it's locked in. And
Yeah.
so resentment uh, holds us down here, ironically.
Hmm. Hmm.
Self-resentment uh, will hold us down here. And, you mentioned karma, and there is a lot of misunderstanding about karma. Karma, the word just simply means action, doesn't
Hmm.
mean anything else. But if I say the word karma, people automatically assume negative punishment, and it's never meant that.
Yeah.
Just simply says if you do this, this is the response from that. And people forget that there's good karma, really
Mm.
good karma. You do good stuff, all kinds of really good stuff happens, but we don't
Mm.
focus on that. We only focus on the stuff we find painful.
Mm.
And, I've learned from, the 12-step work that I've done that it's impossible to have a resentment if you didn't want something.
Yeah. It's the attachment.
If you wanted somebody to do something and they don't do it, then you get angry and resentful. That doesn't mean if somebody's abusive to you that they can't be abusive. It just means if they're abusive to you and you don't want anything from them, then you just kind of, you brush yourself off and you stitch yourself up and you go on and you forget about it. Just
Hmm.
like when we get the, a really bad flu or something, we'll be, if remember when you had the flu last year and you're like, did I?
Yeah.
We don't remember. But at the time, it's like the worst thing you think you're going to die.
Right.
But somebody does the slightest thing that isn't what we wanted selfishly. And then we get angry like our essence was attacked.
Mm.
So yeah, I appreciate that. What you're saying there. Why am I pausing? What am I trying to get at here? I don't know. There's a bunch of them sitting back going, like, they're just watching and they don't want to. Okay, do you have any questions for them?
Mm. Mm. Well, originally, you had said something about looking into that fifth dimensional essence of purpose for me to live, and I'd love if you wanted to channel anything about that.
I said that or they said that?
You did.
What did I say? Because I don't remember.
You said the purpose of these calls was to look into my fifth dimensional um,
Ah, yes.
purpose in
Oh
life.
yeah. So what I call 5D reintegration. So
Yeah.
being that you're not as human as the rest of us, you might not need that. But
I'll jump in and say this. My whole awakening process has been about learning how to ground, which I think is really, I feel that I'm reaching a zero point. It's just kind of coming to me at this moment with this plant medicine ceremony this weekend, because my intention, of course, I love and receive the healing that comes through plant medicine, but my intention is it's a lot like channeling, like, hey, beautiful earth beings, masters, voice of the earth, can I receive teachings from you to share with others? And when thinking about that now, I'm realizing, wow, that's such a beautiful zero point of grounding, because I've been working on grounding for my whole awakening, which has been, 13 years, 12 and a half years at this point. Um, a lot of people go into their awakening and it's like, channeling and all this like really high frequency stuff, and that stuff is comfortable for me, but being grounded on planet Earth, that's been where my work is. So um anyway, I don't remember why I went on that tangent, but just FYI, I think, when oh, that's why, because you said maybe not as human as the rest of you. I'm like, yeah, yeah, it's interesting. It's all been like learning how to connect to the earth, trust the earth, be here, embodied as a human, grounded. So,
okay. So thanks for that. That helps. When people talk, it creates a. I think you know what I'm talking about. It creates a
yeah,
connection. So I got this experience of you before you came here, and as you pointed out, you're talking pretty much opposite of me, because the
yeah.
awakening for me is takes me up into the, I don't, grounding isn't something I need. Um, Letting go of the
Mm,
ground is what I need. So what I got was this feeling of you had your purpose, but there was a part of you that said, and I feel like some emotion, some sadness.
mm,
I want to play down there before it's over. I don't like there was like your soul was like, I waited too long. I need to go down. I need to go and get dirty and play around in the mud, and I need to be human. And so there's this feeling like your soul really wants to just to experience as much as possible before it's all over. And so there's that, and then there's your purpose, your higher purpose above that. So that's what I'm trying to see if I can tap into here. Do you want me to do that?
sure.
Okay. So guys, what is helpful for her and us to know about her higher dimensional reason? Oh, that's interesting. So I got a picture of you behind you, like you grew these wings
Mm,
that go all the way around the world.
mm,
And then I heard she's here to adjudicate. I don't know if you're going to relate to this at all. She's here to adjudicate. So when souls come up, they may not know where to go next.
mm,
And you like kind of point souls in which direction to go next, which world to go to next or experience. And that is a very neutral place.
mm,
So that part of you is just very neutral. And the lower, not even human, but the lower dimensional part of you just beneath that, almost like she resents it. Like, I don't want to be neutral. I can't have fun if I'm neutral. I can't, I want to attach. You guys
Mm.
complain about this all the time. I want that. I want to be bruised and dirty, and I want to look at my scar. You want to do that. So you're kind of fighting with that higher, even higher version of yourself. Yeah, okay. So that feeling that you have, that you've said before and you've said here, of not kind of not relating to the whole human things because of that. And this was a vacation for you.
Mm.
So that's what I'm getting.
Mm.
So you have kind of the opposite experience of the rest of us.
Mhm.
Like you asked, like it was strange to you, why are you so embarrassed about that?
Mm.
For us, it's incredibly challenging because in the third, what I've come to find out, in order just to fit in the third dimension, just to fit here, we have to completely disconnect from the awareness of that higher, that higher self. And I've said this before, but you know, I know the difference between somebody who's had a 5D integration and somebody who's just had a near-death experience. So when
Mm.
people have a near-death experience, they're still human, and they even say this. They all say this. They go to this waiting area.
Yeah.
It's an in-between place. It's a limbo. It could be beautiful and wonderful. They could stay there for thousands of years if they want and all of that, but it's a limbo. And they know
Yeah.
that there's like a door or something on the other side. That's where the real party is.
Yeah.
But the being that will be there will be like, so you got to choose. You want to go through that door or do you want to go back? Because if you can stay here as long as you want, but if you're going to go back, you can't go through that door. Why? Because when you go on the other side of that door, you're going to know everything and you won't be able to go. You won't be able to go back.
Mhm.
And for me, my experience has been that what the light beings have been doing has been like to completely go against that, which is they've been taking me repeatedly back to beyond that door, to my experience being a multidimensional, higher dimensional deity, creator, and all that. And then when I come back, it's just like my brain just goes, this, there's just no way. My third dimensional being says that can't be possible.
Mhm.
And it's violently angry at the thought, very
Mm.
resistant. And it takes, it's easier now, but it took everything in the beginning to keep saying yes when the beings would come. We want to show you more. And I would say yes, even though my whole human part was, I can't look at that. I don't want to look at that. And the feeling that I would disappear, I would stop
Mhm.
existing if I saw it. So I'm mentioning that because I know that was my experience, and I know it's a lot of other people's experience, and
Yeah.
I'm seeing people whom I've worked with, and I wish nothing negative on anybody because my only job here is to help now. But I've seen people who they have that experience. They get to the 5D reawakening and they come back and then they start going in the other direction faster than ever.
Mm.
And I understand why, because it's so frightening and so painful, the thought of, dying, because it's a death,
Mhm.
dying to your entire human identity. And we're at this place now where the people who are here to die to all of their human incarnations.
Mm. No
So,
big deal. Some of you have like thousands.
well, yeah. And so I've worked through a bunch, but apparently there was one I hadn't worked through, which is why,
Mm.
I'm aware of all this Atlantis stuff because it was clearly so huge, and I wasn't just human. I was a higher dimensional, hybrid being, if you will. So it
Yeah,
was much more intense than just normal lives that you wake up from and go, oh wow, that was tough. Anyway, what's next? That
right.
that one it didn't happen like that. So yeah. Uh,
Mm.
so that okay, so I don't think your higher dimensional awareness of that is as impactful on you as it is for us.
Mm. To me, it feels familiar. Like when I went through my awakening, and I tell people the story of like my awakening, and I mean, it was like I was on psychedelics for several months. My reality did not, it was not real. Right? And, when I tell the stories of things that I experienced, people are like, "Were you scared?" And I'm like, "No, no, I finally felt normal." I felt like all the things that I had been kind of feeling once I went through my awakening, it was like, oh, I've been sensing this energy, but now I see it. And I felt like me. I mean, admittedly, I get a lot of attachments. I totally understand attachment because I really and I was told this pretty early on that, attachments are a beautiful thing because what that means is like a mental program is really beautiful and trying to stay in a loop is really beautiful because that just means you've fallen in love with being human. You've fallen in love with this earth experience. Um, Luckily, I haven't had a lot of that because even just in this lifetime, letting go of my attachments it's a lot, um, and I experience it deeply. Um, but but yeah, it's been described to me as a beautiful thing. It just means that we've fallen in love with the human experience and we just want to recreate it again and again. We want to stay in like that little time loop because we just love it so much, but um and I am curious, like I feel like I'm going to get some insight on this during my ceremony this weekend, but I am curious and I've heard lots of different explanations. Um, but we're all going to ascend and we're all going to like reach our complete state once again, and then we're going to want to do something like this again because the desire is to just continuously like have these fulfilling experiences as like our infinite nature exploring all the possibilities. I mean, like Earth is one of the few places, if not the only place, that we can experience things like laughter, sex, killing each other, right? Not that I want to do that last one, but we don't like we're not so separate from our infinite selves that we do any of those things in our exalted form. So like I do get it. I do understand why it's hard to leave this experience, even if it's more energetic, even if it's we're going to stay in the body, but now ascend to a different level where all of your previous experiences are just kind of not really matter to you because you're going to be in a different field of vibration. That level of ego death, like, yeah, there's a lot of attachment to that because as much as we struggle against it and we think, oh, Earth is so heavy and it's so awful and on, it's so beautiful. And it's such a unique experience that we don't get a lot of places. So, um, yeah, just to say, I understand attachment. I understand not wanting to forgive. I understand being scared of transition, all of that. Like, deeply understand it.
So that brings up an interesting question that I don't have the answers to yet, because they're very cheeky about some stuff. They're just some
Yeah.
things are like, Don't worry about that. We'll
Hmm.
we'll talk about that later. You're not ready for that.
It's kind of like when a 2-year-old is like, Mom, what's sex? You know?
But don't worry, you're gonna find out.
Well, yeah, maybe a
Don't.
little later.
Yeah. So, and I'm getting a kind of a feeling, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but it's almost like, you know, I'm going this way and you're coming this way. We're passing each other on the way. Because of what you just said. But I have to be clear about what I've seen and what I've experienced. In what I call 5D, my experience of 5D is it is the physical Earth, but it's literally just the frequency is just above it. And so it doesn't have cities and it doesn't have all that. The plants are there and, but it's, light beings come and go and people have, can meditate and, do all that wizardy stuff. Everybody does that. Um, but what I've experienced is they have a lot of sex, like, and they don't have any hangups about it.
Yeah.
Like there, and it's not like here where you meet one person and that and they don't see it like that, and they're very sexual. I could be wrong, and I'm not saying that because that's my, I'm as sexual as anybody, but um, that's my experience of them. In fact, I'm just going to say it, but I mean, when I go to 5D, not that I have not, I've known some women who interact with light beings and it becomes a sexual thing, like full on
Hmm.
physically, they're engaging with some spirit being on that level. I don't do that. I have nothing against it. It's just not my thing. But when I go there to 5D, I've got a queen and there's a bunch of other Shaktis and all kinds of stuff happens between us. And um, that's not unusual.
Hmm.
So for me, it's almost like a it's as physical as it is here, but it is on a higher frequency, and it doesn't have the heaviness of it. But people are all about experience, emotional, um, psychological, energetic. People are really into connecting deeply with each other on whatever level that is, whatever gets them close to each other. They're really into that. Light beings are into that. So people on other planets, my experience is that it's the opposite of what we've been, told, which is our projection as well as the lies that have been given to us. But the projection that, the higher the civilization, the more of a robot you are, and you don't have any empathy. And it's the exact opposite. The emotions become so intense the
Hmm.
higher that I go.
Mm.
So that brings up the question about, is there going to be an Earth split, like a physical Earth split? I didn't believe that. I didn't want to believe that. And um, I was given some information that led me to believe that there was going to be. It was very clear.
Hmm.
Three harmonic differences,
Hmm.
meaning that there will be people that were here and then they're going to go there. They're not going to, and then there's some people that aren't going to go. And then there's going to be in fact, I was thinking about this yesterday. I was thinking about if I could right now, if I had the ability to snap my fingers, what I would do. And I realized I would take all the really, really destructive, horrible people and I would just put them in a program somewhere so that they were separate from everybody else and they could do their own thing. And I realized, oh, that's exactly what
Hmm.
people have been talking about. There's going to be three harmonics of Earth. So you brought up that question. And it's almost like, and I could be wrong, but it's almost like you're like, I want to go down to the middle one. I don't want to go to the upper one. I want to go to the middle one.
Well, my feeling on all this, and just to kind of like clear up where I'm coming from with the previous topic, um, yes, different dimensional spaces have different set of experiences and like rules and ways of operation, essentially. So I'm not saying that, in fact, my last book is Ecstatic Playground. We become more ecstatic and it feels sexual. So I want to clear that up. It doesn't look the way that it does right now. And there's far more dimensional spaces than five. So we're going even beyond that. And we exist in all of them right now. It's just where is our predominant consciousness?
Yeah.
So I feel that there's already a split earth. Like, depending on what we're conscious of, where our predominant consciousness is, um, determines like where we're existing. It's it's moving away from the literal translation of it and more into the knowledge of the frequency translation of it. Because I am already fifth dimensional, as is everyone on the planet. It's just not everybody's existing there
Yeah.
consciously.
Yeah. Yep. I get that. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting question. I'm still open to understanding that.
It
But
may be that it may be that the reason that people think of this earth split and it being very literal, is because there's infinite possibilities of all, and yet we've all collectively sort of like, when we collectively predominantly choose on a consciousness space where we're going to be, it's sort of like everybody standing on one side of the ship. You know what I mean? It changes the structure of things. But if we look at it in a quantum experience, it's sort of like, um, it's just it predominantly the light that exists on the planet. Again, if you say no, it's sort of like, your Lemurian friends, they're like, hey, you're here again. Well, they went there, but they're right here. And you stayed, but you're also just right here. Right. It's a frequency. Um, and we understand like the baby building blocks of that by being in a good mood all day and interacting with really beautiful experiences, not because they're different experiences, but because we're different, right? So that's the world that we live in. And it can happen in a moment. The moment that we shift our consciousness is when we experience that fifth dimensional state. So, like, I, right in this moment, recognize I'm in the Garden of Eden, right? And also at the same time, I could very much become in tuned with the suffering and the things that are falling apart and be in that world. I could very much do that. And it's just a consciousness shift.
yeah. Yep. That all makes very good sense.
Do you feel something different about the split?
Well, I mean, like you said, it's about, where people's experiences, what's the word that I use? Where our focus is, what our, like you said, conscious experience. I have a great word for it, but it's escaping me. Like when you're playing a video game, you got the three, all of your perception. That's the word.
Perception. Yeah.
Your perception is wrapped up in one thing, but that's not you. You take the goggles off, and now you have a whole much wider perspective. Oh, wait,
Right.
what was the? You get back in the game, and so that's what um, human life is, as I understand it, is that our multidimensional experiences were focused on one perception.
Yeah.
And like a game, there are rules to it. So if you want to
Yes.
play the game, the rule is you're not going to have access to the
Yep.
perceptions. And so what is happening in my experience is that rule is morphing and shifting. And so the way that you describe it is what I'm feeling will. So in other words, when I talk about this, the reason why I talk about the three octaves isn't because I came up with that. It was somebody mentioned it to me, and I said I don't, because I didn't like the idea of some people going and other people not going. Again, I didn't remember that was my thing in the past.
Yeah.
Everybody has to shift, or I'm
Right.
not leaving. I'm not leaving until everybody, right?
Yeah.
So that I was in that same mindset, and somebody said that, and well, okay. I mean, I don't know. And sure enough, I was asleep, and I woke up as we do, and I was getting ready to turn over, going back to sleep, and there was somebody playing the piano in my room
Yeah.
and hitting
Wow.
three octaves, bing, bing, bing. I mean, it was
Mm,
clear, and I went, oh, that's interesting, and I went back to sleep, right?
mm, mm.
And once again, like when they want me to know something, they repeat it. So a couple hours, I wake up, I turn over, bing, bing, bing. I go, okay, I got it. Three octaves, and it's a frequency. It's the same note, but so the same world, but three octaves of the same world. So they were making it clear that that was something that either is happening or was going to happen.
Mm.
So the rules are changing in that the way that I'm guessing, the way that it feels like it's going to be. Like right now, my experience is my perception is in this, what I'm going to call the middle frequency. And when I met it, I just got hit. Okay. I just got hit with a lot of energy. So that's accurate.
Mm.
So when I do the live guided meditations, I'm taking my perception to all kinds of different places. And there's like, I'm almost there. In fact, the meditations are continuing to get more and more powerful. So much so that when we get to the end of the meditation and I brought us to, I don't feel like the meditation is going to end. It's like you can stay here as long as you want. And
Yeah.
I have to end it at some point. So I end it. But it's getting harder and harder to do that. And then I will be really unfunctional for a day. Like I won't be able to
Mm.
function down here. And so the experience and the feeling I'm getting, and you guys agree with this?
Mm.
They said, yeah, that's where we are.
Mm.
Those who go to the higher frequency will be able to shift up and down. People in the middle or on the bottom won't. They'll be stuck in one perception.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that is by choice.
It's always only by choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're choosing to do it for whatever reason, right or wrong. It's their choice. And that it's the choice that binds you to it.
Mm.
So the perception of it will be that for those of us like the Lemurians who shifted, their experiences, they went from 3D Earth to what we call 5D. And that's where they are. They want to stay there. And so I don't need this to be true, but it seems to make sense. And you guys seem to be saying that that's what's going to happen. Okay, wait, there's more. What are you saying? You need to understand why you're choosing to stay here, Mike. So I've been making things challenging for them because I want to leave so bad.
Mm.
And they're telling me the reason why you remembered all that past was so that you would remember why you're choosing to stay because you're going to help awaken others who want to leave. Okay, I just lost it. But anyway, I completely forgot what I just said. but
Mhm.
but I think that answers. If you ask me a question, I think I answered that.
Okay. Mm.
I think you were kind of asking me kind of, why is your view so like separated, right?
Oh, yes, a bit linear.
Yeah,
But what it of course makes sense that we would have predominant coagulations of frequency, right?
yeah.
It makes sense to me.
Okay. Well, this has been very interesting. Do you guys have anything else that you want to say? We're very happy that the two of you, we're very happy that you got together and are communicating about this. This is important for other people to listen to. You guys may not realize it, but other people are able to process things better when the two of you sort of look at things from different angles. And and they'd like that to continue. What else? And then yeah, this is embarrassing. They're very happy that we're talking. Um, I think that's for me. Very happy that you guys are talking about things. And they say interesting things like this, and they say, and we're listening, like we're educating them on things that they. This is important for people to understand. It's taken me a long time to understand this, but lots of times I'll go to them and I'll ask them questions, and they'll go, I don't know. And in the meditations, I will do things in meditation, just following my instinct. And afterwards, they will show up. Sometimes lots of them will show up in the room and they'll go, we had no idea you could do that.
Wow.
One time I did this meditation and I don't remember when I'm off. I don't remember what I do. I mean, I'm conscious when I'm doing it, but when I come back, I don't remember it unless somebody reminds me of it. But I went off and we started creating universes and things like that. And it was like a crystal dimension universe. And, I was just playing around. I didn't know what was going on. I was just doing it. And afterwards, about an hour afterwards, I was lying here in bed and this very powerful being shows up.
Mm.
And he says, they always ask, can I ask you a question? Can I talk to you? And he says, yeah, of course, come on in. So this being comes in and I can feel that he's very powerful, but he's very happy, which is kind of weird. A masculine, really powerful being, but they're all kind of like happy, like little kids. And he comes in and he says, I would like to ask you a question. And I said, yes. He said, would you like to get in on the ground floor of creating? And he goes into this really elaborate explanation of how to create this one space that it's a place where gods can go and like AI practice creating stuff. And he's asking me, do I want to be like one of the founding members of this thing? And I'm like human sitting there. I'm like, okay. Because I say yes. Whenever they ask a question, I always say yes. So I say, okay. I said, I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about. And he goes, you don't? He said, you just did it. We didn't know you could do that. You went off and you created this whole thing and we saw it. And he said, we were off somewhere else. We weren't even paying attention to your dimension, but we felt this. We came looking for this energy that was coming from what you were doing out there. And and he said, we had no idea you could do that. He said, so we're going to go do that. And when you're done here, you have a place you can come in as a founding member since it was your idea and you figured it out.
Wow, that's cool.
Okay, yeah, I'll look you up when I'm done with whatever I'm doing here. So
That's funny.
it's so opposite what we think. We think that they're the gods and we're these little and they don't see us that way.
Mm.
And they forget. They talk to us. because they look at us and they see us in our higher dimensional form, and they forget that our focus isn't there. And they
Mm.
sometimes have to go, oh, that's right. You guys don't know. Oh, and then they have to talk to us in ways that we can hear.
Mm.
So,
I love that. Yeah, it's always that was one of the first messages that I got when I started consciously channeling is, you are us and we are you, and this is very much a mutual thing. So,
yeah, not only that, but they're watching and taking notes. Like, there are even places, ET physical beings. There are places, and they have, the equivalent of like a giant jumbotron, and they're
right,
watching human beings doing just normal human stuff, and they're taking notes.
taking notes.
Oh, we do something that's very human, like we overcome a challenge, or we, get a new belief system, or we stop eating sugar and go to the gym. It could be, and they're like, oh, what do you
Oh,
know? And
yeah,
it's like, watching, housewives of Orange County or whatever.
yeah.
It's like their entertainment. So, but to take it seriously, it's like we don't understand those little things we do. We overcome those little challenges. The whole multiverse, like, just shakes with power from that. And we
Mm,
don't get it. We don't
mm.
realize how important our lives are, darling.
I love that.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been very interesting, and I hope other people will enjoy it. Do you have anything? Any questions? Anything else associated with the light beings you'd like to ask or talk about?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Please tell everybody where they can find you, all the very wonderful things that you do. Of course, I'll put links uh, into the whatever, the link box.
Yeah. Sure. You can find me on my YouTube channel. It's Allison Holly Awakening Guide. And I you can find my website, AllisonHolly.com. And in about a month, I know I told you about it, but in a month I have True Creator Summer Camp, which is an adult spiritual summer camp. And we'll be doing, Star Family Contact, which CE5, um, channeling workshops, manifestation workshops, really learning how to play as an adult going through an awakening. Um, this is our third annual one, so it's going to be really, really epic. We have room for 60 people this year, so it'll be bigger than the previous years. But yeah, I am really excited about that. I do coaching and some readings, some individual readings. And yeah, oh, my audiobook. My most recent book is now available as an audiobook for free on YouTube. So you can check that out. It's Ecstatic Playground.
Cool. All right. And yeah, as I said, I'll put the links below in the description. So thank you, Allison, for once again having a meeting of the, where did we come from again? Andromedan.
I don't know, let's choose a dimensional space and
The
play
the
there.
An- the Andromedans, the meeting of the Andromedans. I appreciate it, and I value your input and your knowledge, and I know everybody on my channel also enjoys it. So uh,
Thank you, Mahadeva.
thank you so much. This transmission is nothing unusual. Every single person that I've given readings for, you find out in the higher dimensional levels, they are the most powerful beings you can imagine. In fact, if you'd like to have your own experience with light beings, please come to the live guided interdimensional meditations that we do live every Wednesday and Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. They're free, and you can go see all of the ones we've done. You just go to the live tab on my YouTube channel and you can see all of them there in case you can't make the live ones. That's it, my friends. Check out all the other links here in case you want to see all the things that I provide with the sole intent of helping you to expand into your highest 5D awareness and to bring 5D to planet Earth. Thank you very much. I love you all. Please be very good to yourselves. I'll see you all very soon.